Welcome back to Switched to Linux. Well, today we're going to have a look at a new Linux distro, and that being Rhino Linux. This is a new distribution that is based on Ubuntu, and they say it's designed to be a rolling release. Now, I'm not sure if how they're defining rolling release looking over all of the notes, because of course Ubuntu itself, it has point releases. There's an LTS and then there are point releases. If you want to stay explicitly on the LTS, the long-term stable, the core of the system is not changing a lot. They're adding a few little things. They're updating packages periodically as it makes sense to do so, but then you keep that distribution for a few years. If you go with the non-LTS method, then you're going to update the distribution roughly every 9 or so months. And this is going to update the core and all of the software. So what Rhino is trying to do is kind of split the middle with giving you the core system, but then updating the basic software packages. So it's not a true rolling in the sense like Arch is rolling in there, or OpenSUSE Tumbleweed is rolling, where the entire core and the packages are updating on a regular basis. But we are going to see updated packages faster as far as your applications are installed, not necessarily the underlying system. You can kind of think a similar thing happens with the KDE software in Neon. That really is a Plasma application, a Qt application rolling release on top of an Ubuntu LTS. And that kind of is what Rhino tries to be. However, there are a few other things that they do that also makes it a fun and compelling desktop option. So what we're going to do here is we're going to walk through the installer first. And so that way, as it's installing, we'll look at the website, and then hopefully when we're done with the website, it would be pretty much set to install. Now, this is one that my older version here of VirtualBox will not run this for whatever reason, but I did actually do a full-fledged testing system inside of boxes. So we're going to go ahead and run this inside of boxes. So here is our 23.1 AMD 64 Ghost. And this one is actually a little bit smaller than some of these huge distributions coming out. It's not quite as bloated, although it does give us a lot of neat options. So we'll go ahead and hit our create button, and then this should get us right on into the desktop here. So you can see it's booting the live key there, so we can try or install. We can start it in the safe graphics mode. We can boot from the next volume, or we can power off. So we're going to go ahead and try or install the distribution. So here we are. We have our nice loading screen here. Let me see if I can go full screen with this guy here. Good. It actually goes full screen. I'm like, what was that? Blend OS, I think, did not want to go full screen when we were using that the other day. This one did, so that's good. Of course, if you're here on GNOME boxes, you need to get back. You can actually recapture the mouse with the Control-Alt buttons and get up there. So we're just going to go ahead and let this guy run, see where we get. So it automatically detects our screen resolution. We are set over here, and we are landing on the desktop. So this kind of looks on the surface a little bit like a GNOME desktop in a way to the untrained person. May look like GNOME, but it's actually not. It is a nicely themed XFCE. We're going to go ahead and run through our installer here, which is using the Calamaris installer. Ubuntu has its own brand new Flutter-based installer, and they had the old Ubiquity installer. This chose to divert from each of those and use Calamaris instead. So we'll go ahead and make sure our language is properly selected, and then we go into our time zone, and then check our keyboard. And now we have the option of manual partitioning or using the entire disk. And then we have a swap to file. We have a no swap, and we have the option to encrypt the disk here. We're just going to do swap to file, and we're not going to worry about disk encryption on this case here. So here we'll go with Rhino, and then we'll enter in our super secret password that's definitely not 123. And then this is going to require us to log in. Here's what the partitions are going to look like. And we're going to hit install now, and then this is going to walk us through our work over here. So with this, now while this is running, we're going to go ahead and have a look at the website and see what the information is that we get over there. So having a look at the website, they have our Ubuntu-based rolling release, community maintained and open source, rolling released Ubuntu-based distribution with Packstall and XFCE at its core. So Packstall is one I've not seen before this. Packstall is basically like an, you almost think of it like an AUR. So if we click on the packages button over here, this is going to take us over to the Packstall website. And it says it's the AUR for Ubuntu. Of course, we are forced to go through here. There's no opt-out for cookies, so this actually violates EU law. But oh well, let's go ahead and have a look at it. So here is the packstall.dev. AUR for Ubuntu technically should be called the UUR, and is not going to have all the software in the AUR. They're kind of rolling on this. They're hoping people add their packages into it. Basically, it provides a way that you can package your software that any distribution running Packstall is going to be able to install it. Now, there are a lot of packages, so you can flip through here, and as good programmers, you'll see that their page number starts at 0, not at 1. Amen to that. There you have it. So you know they're doing things right over here. So here we have a lot of different software, and again, they are community supplied. So just like the AUR, you want to recognize that the AUR itself is a potential security risk, so you have to be aware of that. And just like that, the UUR, or Packstall here, will probably be a very similar thing. But nevertheless, it does allow you to have extra software that is not otherwise in the Ubuntu repositories. So I am calling that a good thing. Now, the other thing that Rhino does a little bit differently is on the first install, and you'll see this once we get into the system, it's going to have us set up our system. In other words, do we want to use snaps or not? Do we want to use flatpaks or not? I love those options when a distribution gives us those options as nice check marks right when the system starts. It's not forcing you into anything, but it also is not giving you just the basic, oh, you got to go set up flatpak or snap manually yourself if you want to. So it is giving you those options. And because these are all managed, flatpak, usually you're installing these from the flatpak command, snaps from the snap command, then you have to remember to update them separately, or you can put them into a GUI software manager and then add the plugins like the GNOME plugins for them. That can be a little bit complicated. So what Rhino did is they created their own package manager. And this is the Rhino package. And what the Rhino package manager is going to do is, utilizing one system of commands, it is going to check the updates and the install opportunities from each of the different sources. So if you have snaps and flatpaks and the basic repository and Packstall all installed on the system, Rhino package is going to give you the options to install, update, maintain, remove, and all of the other options inside of that right there in the one tool. So that's actually a really nice option that they have given us. We also have this is the setup wizard. We're going to have a look at that when we actually get in there. Now, the one thing they have that I wasn't quite sure here is Rhino Drop. So Rhino Drop is supposed to be like a web browser based system that is going to allow you to share files. I actually tried this on multiple different things. I had 3 simultaneous connections to the drop.rhinolinux.org, and there's no options. There is no instructions. I do not see any way to share files in between systems using this. So either A, there is a functional problem with it, or B, probably more likely, something in my network configuration and firewalls is blocking that. And if something in my firewalls on the known block list is blocking it, I'm kind of wondering how it's happening. Now, they allege that these will connect to each other. You go over the internet, but the 2 devices will connect to each other via a local network peer-to-peer, allowing you to share files. But when I attempted to run multiple different computers on the same network running this, and even I looked at phones and computers on the network, none of them can see each other. I could not find any documentation on this thing, so I have no earthly idea how this is going to work. Is it broken, or is it just my network that is configured in such a way that it's not going to work? They do say it's perfect for developers, in which they do have a lot of extra dependencies in here for any of your programming. And they do have VS Codium installed by default, which is kind of nice because I did want to have a look at VS Codium at some point in time in the future. So, hey, this might be, I'll keep it around for a little bit to play with VS Codium as I am able to do so. Now, the other thing that we have to look at over here is the wiki. So they do not have a lot of information here. We have our install guide. We have a quick start guide, the post install. We have a guide on the Rhino package, packstall, and if you have NVIDIA drivers. So here you can see that Rhino install is very easy to use, and there is a shortcut RPK. So you can do RPK instead of Rhino-PKG if you'd like to. And it's update, it is install, it is remove, it is search, and they have the let's see, there's the update. Yeah, so the update's going to search through apt, packstall, flatpak, and snap, check for updates, and install. So a single line to install instead of like apt, you'd have to do your update and then you have to do your upgrade. So a little bit different in that. I really like that. Hopefully that works out pretty well. Here's our quick start guide for afterwards. So you can see that you can come in here and do any of your adjustments. So there's what our website has to say. There's not a ton of other stuff on here as well. Let's just have a brief look at the downloads page as well. So you get over here and here's your select your edition. We have a generic ISO. We have a Pine 64 and we have a Raspberry Pi. Ooh, we might try this on the Raspberry Pi. That sounds fun. All right, so those are kind of your options. Now let's go ahead and hopefully it's done installing and we'll have a look at the first boot. So here's our first boot up since we have installed it. And here's your Unicorn session. So my guess is they're calling this modified XFCE Unicorn, although I'm not sure exactly what the difference would be other than otherwise theming. I didn't see anything on their website about it. Maybe I missed it. Let me know down below. So over here is our first installer system. So we'll go ahead and hit our let's start. First we can choose, it says color scheme, but there's no color scheme. It's light mode or dark mode to choose from. If we were color scheme, we'd be choosing, okay, do we want to use purples like we're using here or reds or something else? So this should be not color scheme. I'd call it like light mode or something. So over here is where we can configure Snap, AppImage, and flatpak to be used. And if you're using flatpak, it automatically configures the FlatHub repository, in which we can turn on the beta channel or not. So if you want to turn any of these guys on, you can go ahead and do that. So we'll hit next. Now we have Nala. This is an alternative front end to apt. This is basically it's apt with some bling. Effectively, we have GitHub CLI and we have app port for reporting any stability issues. Of course, I do not want to use any of those. And here it's asking us for our password. It's not clear exactly why, other than it's running a user bin sh. So there's some script in here that is running as part of this that wants to authenticate. If you get a random pop-up like that without doing anything, there's cause to question. But with this, we know that what it's doing is it's configuring our system for first use. So I'm not super concerned, although it would be nice to see exactly what it is running or to have a way to set this guy up without requiring these odd password prompts. Now that this is done, it wants us to reboot the system again. So we'll go ahead and do that and then come back when it's done doing that. And of course it wants to enter our password again to reboot. All right, so we will come on in and we'll have our first look over here at the desktop. So again, this kind of looks like it's, it looks sort of like it's GNOME, but it's actually not. It's XFCE or Unicorn as they call it. It just happens to be modified. So we have our search function over there. We can right click and here's all of our applications. So you can see it's XFCE. Now there's a top panel up here, which is going to be hard to use because I'm in GNOME boxes. But every time I go up there, it'll get that box there, which is going to override our panel here. But here we have our do not disturb. We have our audio. We have our battery systems over here. our network, our clock is up here, and this is our power menu, so we can do whatever we need to do there. And then we have over here about our system. So if we look at our system, we have, there's our chip, there's our memory, our disk, our GPU. Oh, it says it's a Red Hat equivalent. Oh boy. We have our kernel, we have our desktop. You can see it says Unicorn XFCE X11, and then Rhino Linux 2023-1. There is a system upgrade option down there as well. Here is our terminal. Here's your VS Codium is already configured. Of course, if you're not a developer and you don't need that, you'll probably consider that bloatware. But for those that do use it, hey, saved you a step, right? So let's have a look at the rest of the software installed on the system. It looks like everything on this screen is it. Here's the about, basically all the types of things that we have inside of your XFCE control panel, and then some other applications. So not a lot of applications over here. We can just having a brief look. We have XF burn. Interesting. Many computers are not coming with a CD drive, but we have that configured. But there's no mail application installed. So they do have a few odd choices in some of the software, just in what they're doing. I'm not sure why. Or does every one of their systems have DVD-ROMs, or any computers they buy have them? I don't know. Here's Planck, of course. Here's your panel information. Here's your default applications. So here we have Debian Sensible browser, and we have Firefox. I have no idea what the Debian Sensible browser is. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, I guess it's this one here. Oh, it failed to execute it. Okay, so I guess it's not there. All right, Mail Reader, there's no application installed. We have Thunar. Our terminal is our Debian X terminal emulator. So that's very interesting. Let's try that web browser again. Yeah, there's some problem with that. I bet Firefox should work for us, though. So we have Firefox. The default web browser does not seem to want to work, so that is a little bit of a concern to me. Firefox does work, though. We have VS Codium, and let's go ahead and have a look at, not VS Codium. I just took that off the panel. There you go. Here's this. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead and have a brief look at, first I think, is it null? I did not research this one. Pardon me if we get something completely wrong. So let's do, I should probably do a sudo in front of that. So let's do a sudo null update. And is that the name, or is that Naga? Okay, there it is. Okay, so yeah, it looks nice and pretty. That looks pretty nice. So you just do your updates, all of your apt stuff. So if you want to do, let's do search for, let's do evolution. I'm still protesting Thunderbird. So you can see that we have some options here. So that's null. It just looks a little bit nicer. Not a lot different. It pretty much is just a front end. But remember, they have Rhino package is what we can use. And if we do Rhino package update, are you sure you want to update all packages? So no is the default. We'll go ahead and hit yes here. And you can see that it looks like it's going to be using that Nala to do the updates. So here is what we have. There's a lot of things. Let's see, get past my search mode there. Okay, so these are the things it wants to install. Let me go ahead and full screen this, a little bit easier to spot. And here's the upgrading. And it's auto removing a few packages here as well. Total install is 25, upgrade is 312, auto remove is those, and it wants to download 900 megabytes. Let's go ahead and not download 900 megabytes right now. So it is going to abort, but you can see that that package is going to allow you to install things. Let's see. No, we're not doing anything. No. Nothing to do. Thank you. Send me back to that terminal prompt. I don't want to just close it at this point in time because it might crazy out on me. It's just sitting there with nothing to do though. So of course, if this were a production system, I would have definitely hit the update. You can see what it's doing over here though. It's looking for pack install programs, things like that. So these are the pack stalls that can be upgraded. So you can see that's what it's doing right here. Nothing to do. Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and close that just to double check. All right. So I don't know of any other software installer they have by default. So there is no GUI package manager. So if you're wanting to do something in the GUI, it does not have that. If you wanted to, you can install something, XFCE. I don't know. You can install the GNOME store. If you're using Snap, of course, you can install the Snap store. Of course, that's only going to give you snaps from the GUI. So it does want to be a rolling release Ubuntu, but it doesn't have that user friendliness of Ubuntu at this time. That's not saying it's bad. It's just, it is the first release. They're still probably working a few bugs out of it. But overall, what I see is it's not going to be the best distribution for a brand new user. That would not stop me from using this. It looks nice. And I like the package manager where we have a good all-in-one package manager that can update everything all at once. In my case here, the Debian web browser doesn't seem to work. There's no mail reader. I think the XF burn is probably bloatware. Some of you will probably consider VS Codium bloatware as well. That just depends on if you are a developer or not. We do have a few different terminal emulators. So we have XFCE terminal settings, XFCE terminal, Xterm, UXterm, and terminal emulator. Now, if I remember correctly from the Peppermint stuff, when you see like these four, I think these two are actually execute the same application, and these two do. So my guess is it's probably just a duplicate of the software. So like a duplicate of the desktop settings. So let's have a look at these. Let's see. So burn. I'm just looking to see where those guys are at. Are they going to be on the system? Here's UXterm. We have XFCE terminal. So you can kind of see these two are probably the same. And then if we find that last one in the settings there somewhere. Office, there's a dictionary, XF burn, graphics, and not seeing the other terminal, but kind of my guess is these two are actually going to be the same, so probably just telling me XFCE4 terminal 104. So these two are the same. It's just a duplicate desktop option. Desktop file is what we're going to have. So it has two terminals installed for desktop files overall. So overall, the system itself, it is fun. It is a nice little refreshing look. My guess is the system is going to run on very little memory, being an XFCE based. So if I can find the memory. The color scheme is kind of getting in the way a little bit. It is a little pretty and flashy, but that does make it a little bit hard to read. You can see they're running like a color gradient across here. It's so dark on the side, I can barely see that. That's telling us our swap is at 0 of 512 is what that says right there. Over here, we're running 783 megabytes out of our 6 gig. So this system will work pretty nice. It does look flashy. I like the overall color scheming and stuff. I think I might actually try and run this on a Raspberry Pi and see how it works. I'm kind of getting sick of Manjaro, and if I can get something with the probably a little bit more stable base like Ubuntu, then that would work. In fact, the only reason I went with Manjaro is the only thing that when I built that system a couple years ago, the only one that completely worked out of the box. Now, as far as its claim to be a rolling release Ubuntu, technically it's not. And the reason it's technically not is, I'm going to turn my light on there. Technically, the reason it's not a rolling release Ubuntu is a rolling release would imply that the core files of the system are upgrading on a regular basis. And I don't see that happening. What I see them doing is they're running a package repository that updates the software. So we have a lot of software that is up to date, but I don't see them necessarily rolling the Ubuntu core files on a rolling release. Maybe they are, and they're pulling them out of the current beta tests. I don't know, but with the limited amount of information about this brand new distro I can find, it looks more likely that it's going to be an Ubuntu core with much more upgraded software and a custom package manager, which is very good. They have the UUR, right? The Ubuntu repository, user repository. The pack stall is configured, which is actually a good benefit. And the fact you can control whether you're installing or not installing Snap or Flatpak is a really good thing. And also getting your system ready for AppImages is also nice as well. So overall, this is definitely a nice distribution. If you're looking for something fun and fresh to play with, go ahead and have a look at it. I would probably give it a few more versions before I'd consider it for a solid daily driver, but definitely send some information back to the developers. I think it's off to a great start. It could probably use a few tweaking in the packages, and overall, I like the direction they're going, though. It is really nice and very compelling. So definitely Rhino Linux, thumbs up for those rhinos in office. With that, though, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.
Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.